Alright guys, welcome back. In our last lecture, we discussed some of the best practices that leaders should follow to ensure their team's success. But, as we mentioned at the end, your team could be a virtual one. In this lecture, we'll talk about the unique challenges of working with a virtual team. Now, the first thing to realize about building a virtual team and leading it is that it's not unlike a team that's in an office or some physical workspace. People still have roles to play, different personalities that guide them, and goals to achieve regardless of where they do their work. As a leader, you're still expected to perform the same duties we discussed in our last lecture. Establish yourself as a team leader, share your vision, be a good listener, promote your values, and, as always, lead by example. Whether your teammates are in California or in the Congo, you still need to act like a leader and provide the support your team needs. But of course, you'll be doing all of this in a virtual environment using a variety of online platforms and tools. When you don't have all of your teammates in the same room or building, it presents some challenges. Virtual communication can often lead to misunderstandings and a lack of empathy. It's certainly more difficult to pick up on exactly what people are trying to say when you can't see their face or hear their voice. Virtual workers that aren't as connected to the team might start making bad assumptions about the team's goals or how to go about doing certain tasks. And some workers aren't cut out for a virtual environment because they get suspicious of colleagues they can't see. Or, they get paranoid that people think they're not working, so maybe they overdo things and possibly get burnt out. So there are some unique challenges when you work in a virtual environment, but like all great leaders, you can deal with them. So here's what you, in general, should do. First of all, when in doubt, communicate more. When teammates aren't physically close together to share information, you need to bring the information to them. This includes any expectations you have that relate to goals, milestones, or directions. Meet with your team often enough to ensure they fully understand what they need to do, and repeat things on multiple channels if necessary. Like if you have a meeting outlining a plan, put a copy of the finished plan on your internal discussion board and send it out over email. But as we mentioned, it's easy for virtual communication to be misunderstood or misinterpreted, so establish communication best practices so your team always engages each other in the best way possible. This includes creating policies about which channel to use for each purpose. Let's use chat for everyday exchanges, video for meetings, the discussion board for project and data analysis, something like that. Find some tools that are easy to use so people aren't struggling just to send a message. Talking to someone needs to be one of the easiest things you do in your workplace. And I recommend you use video as much as possible. To eliminate those virtual understandings, use video so people can see and hear each other. It's not the same as meeting in person, obviously, but it is face-to-face, and that really does help a lot. And over the long term, work on developing a virtual culture. Culture refers basically to how people work and interact with each other, and it's guided by values and by example. You need to share your values, as we mentioned in the previous lecture, which will help the team understand how you expect work to get done. You'll also need to lead by example and interact with teammates and communicate in ways you expect others to do. In many cases, people will follow your lead and do what you do. But if possible, try to bring your team together in person, even if it's just once a year. It really makes a huge difference to sit in the same room, share some fun activities, and really connect with coworkers in person. It can really be a refreshing experience. One last note, if your team is a mix of people in an office with some virtual workers, you need to keep all of these strategies in mind, especially the tips for uniting your team online and getting them to communicate. Virtual teammates might feel left out if things happen without them in the office, especially important meetings and decisions. Make a policy to include your virtual workers and make them equal parts of what your team does at all times so nobody gets left out. Okay, so in the lectures to come, we're going to talk more about communication and other ways to strengthen the bonds between your teammates. See you then.